We're all coming in here and watching the Super Bowl.
Hey, Christine, sure.
Hey Doug, welcome. Would you like to Zoom link?
Get on, so I have difficulties on there. Just stick with the phone. Sorry.
That works.
Good evening. Call the regular meeting of the Nome Town Council for Monday, December 14th, 2020 to order. And quickly call the roll to establish a quorum.
Councilman Brown,
Yeah.
Councilman Doug Johnson,
Here.
Councilman Mark Johnson,
Here.
Councilman Martinson,
Here.
Councilwoman Reeder, here, Councilwoman Popcott, and student rep Lisa. Here. You have the quorum.
Thank you. Moving on to the approval agenda, is there any changes, additions, deletions, or corrections? If not, can we have a motion to adopt this meeting?
Move to approve the agenda for Monday, December 14th, 2020.
Thank you, Councilmember Reeder, Councilmember Mark Johnson. Roll call, please.
Councilman Doug Johnson,
Yes.
Councilman Mark Johnson.
Yep.
Councilman Martinson,
Yeah.
Councilwoman Reeder,
Yes.
Councilwoman Popcott. Yeah. And Councilman Brown.
Yeah.
We have an approved agenda.
Thank you. Moving on then to approval of minutes. We have two sets of minutes, one from our regular meeting on the 23rd of November, and then a special meeting on the 25th of November. If there's no objection, we'll take those as one motion. Would somebody move to approve the minutes?
I move to approve the minutes for Monday, November 23rd and Monday, November 25th, 2020.
Okay.
Thank you, Councilmember Reeder, Councilmember Mark Johnson. Roll call, please. Are there any corrections to be noted?
I just noted one on the 23rd. In the body of the minutes, it said that Kelly Miller was on the phone as the alternate and she wasn't noted as a member present, but they didn't note that Zoe was absent. I wasn't sure if that was, she was supposed to take the place of that. And then on the November 25th meeting, they have Adam is present and excused at the same time, but I was absent and my name's not noted at all.
Okay, if we can make those changes. I believe Councilmember Martinson was here.
Yeah, I was.
Okay, so the second absent then would be Councilmember Reeder. With those ministerial corrections, can we have a roll call please on their adoption?
Councilman Mark Johnson.
Yeah.
Councilman Martinson.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Reeder,
Yes.
Councilwoman Popcott. Councilman Brown,
Yeah.
Councilman Doug Johnson.
Yes.
We have approved minutes for November 23rd and November 25th. Administrative changes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Then moving on to communications, there are several in the packet and a couple that have come in by other means. The first is from NSCDC to the Acting Finance Director regarding Community Benefit Share Fund audit. Next communication is from NSCDC regarding the 2020 Community Benefit Share. NSCDC has allocated $200,000 this year for the Community Benefit Share, and we need to have a determination as to how those funds might be, how the use of those funds might be determined. The next communication is from the Alaska Business Development Center, noting that they're planning 2021 volunteer tax and loan program.
I have a question about that one this year. Are they planning on still making the trip to Nome this year, do you know? Or are they gonna do this like some other means? I think they physically report to each of these communities.
I don't know, came in on as to whether they may be offering it, you know, they may have volunteers already in the community. You know, it's what January, February is going to allow. If they have people locally up here, it's virtual.
I'd like to make a motion to support their program for the $1,500 requested.
Thank you, Councilmember Reeder. There's a motion made to support the efforts for the $1,500 requested. Is there a second? Oh, thank
She's
you,
very quiet.
Councilmember
Is there a
Topcott.
reason why we can't hardly hear her?
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to support this for $1,500. Is there any discussion?
I'm just curious. I mean, I know we supported them last year as well, so I was just curious how they're planning on doing their business. I don't want them to kick people out.
Hoping to do it again based in Nome, so encouraging possibility and pay the open book.
Great, thank you, Councilmember. Roll call, please, on the contribution of $1,500 to support the program.
Councilman Martinson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Reeder,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hopcop,
Okay.
Councilman Brown,
What?
Councilman Doug Johnson,
Yes.
Councilman Mark Johnson.
Yes.
We have an approved motion, and I can try to figure out what's better than the
We're referring to item C. Okay, the next communication is from the Anchorage Alcohol and Marijuana Control Office within the State Department of Commerce and Economic Development, noting the renewal application has been received for the Husky Restaurant, and advising that we can protest if we wish for good reason within 60 days of receipt.
Any good reason why we should do that, Mr. Nangian? Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right. The next communication is from Kelvin Schaefer with regard to tax bill confusion.
The next two letters are actually tax bill confusion letters. Is there something going on with our billing process? I see the smile in the eyes.
I don't even know, Brian is on the line, but some of these, I just don't know what's going to be, if they do them administratively for these low amounts, or what the process is. Because once the deadline has passed, are there opportunities to appeal or, you know, contest their windows have changed, and so when the tax bill goes out, those become finalized in a sense, and the only way to theoretically get them corrected is to go through the system.
Okay, it looks like they're being charged a delinquency fee, and they both indicated that they paid their bill on time, so that's why I'm confused, like, they both indicate we paid our bill on time, why are we getting these delinquency fees tacked on? So that's why I'm confused, I guess, to you.
Yeah, Brian, if you'd like to chime in.
I was like.
Brian?
Okay, well, I'm not sure what the, amount of this, Calvin Schaefer one is, it doesn't list it here. The other one is less than $11.
Sometimes if there has been a year that hasn't been fully paid or if it was not received on time, some folks don't know that there was an added penalty, and so that penalty carries over a year. Or the interest, they didn't pay the full amount, or whatever little amount is left, it accumulates to this. So it's about looking at each account and going and specifically see where the differences are or why there is even a difference. At the end, that's the reason with it, or whatever
The shaper is usually a little more
it
complicated.
is.
I just don't remember all the facts, but I know it's a lot more complicated than that.
Well, without knowing the balance of the people, you'd be like, oh, just forget it, without knowing, I don't wanna like forgive something that's.
This is a new system.
And then,
Somewhat new.
why this 2020 is so difficult of a tax year, if there have been more coming out of this. Most people have just been paying whatever little balance is left, or why, it's an unknown. But there are, like I said, penalties that they didn't account for, or mortgage company sent it, or they didn't, whatever the reason is, there is just some little amount left over that continues to roll over and like,
So is this something that you can take care of administratively, Mr. Steckman, or is this something that we need to act on?
Let's try and have that answer the question.
Oh, and he doesn't seem to be able to get through to whatever we're trying to.
Okay, well, how about, that, we, thank the folks for their, letters and, it'll be reviewed and, we'll get back to them.
Brian?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
Okay.
go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, okay, so with respect to the easy one is, the second one, the $11, someplace in there, I think in 2018, there was a trailing balance. And, at one point in our personal property billings, well, in the past of our personal property billings, it was only the current period that was showed on the bill. So let's just say you had $1,000 in personal property and the mill rate is 13, you get a $13 bill. And if there was any trailing, something that you didn't catch from last year, if you paid a little bit late, if there was some penalty interest, then it didn't show it on the bottom of the bill. This was, I thought this was corrected in 2018 or 2019, but looking at the bills that went out this year, it was not corrected for the personal property bills. So, the homeowners had a little bit there from 2018 and 2019 that wasn't showing up on our bill, and a dollar over a few years became more. With respect to complicated. And I have to actually be looking at the account to give a complete description of what happened there. Somehow, those blocks, I think the block 80, lot 5 and 6, but the first lot 5 and 6, the assessment information was somehow switched. And I think that might have led to a paying of one bill on time, but then somehow either missing a different bill or it being miscued in the post office. So I would recommend granting both of their requests. I don't, the post office doesn't have the power to do that, because you're essentially saying that you're writing off the penalty and interest for those. And we're looking at this and trying to fix it so it doesn't happen again. Unfortunately, over the past year, which was 2020, the dumpster fire year, as the year to switch everything from our paper assessment records into a digital system. There's little issues still in our database. We're working to correct them.
Okay, so the city clerk's recommendation is that the penalties and interest associated with the accounts of Calvin Schaefer and Carla Hummelvig be written off.
I move to remove the delinquent amounts owed by the Shakers and the Hummelvigs.
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Reeder, Councilmember Mark Johnson. Is there any discussion?
I got really quiet and I couldn't hear the full motion.
The motion, Councilmember, is to grant or have the city write off the interest and penalty associated with both the Shakers tax bill glitch and that of the Hummelvig. So to grant both of these requests to write that balance off.
Thank you.
Further questions? Questions been called. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Reeder,
Yes.
Councilwoman Topcott,
Yes.
Councilman Brown,
Yes.
Councilman Doug Johnson,
Yes.
Councilman Mark Johnson,
Yes.
Councilman Martinson.
Yes.
We have an approved motion to waive the penalty for interest for IED and F.
Thank you. The next communication is from the acting finance director to the council with an update on NSCDC community benefit outstanding audit reporting. Mr. Manager?
Obviously, some of this money, the $57,000, is really the big amount, plus $100,000, is related to the Nome Rink and Hockey project, and I think that with the building moving forward, that the money, and this is an explanation given the ISCDC, the ice hockey will be built this year. It's gonna be in the neighborhood of about $60,000 just to build the ice hockey, the rink up at the, looking at over at Kenny, I know he's involved with us, over up at the, representative. The 100,000 is the resolution that's in front of you today. The 100,000 originally came to the council, from NSCDC when it appeared that the city was gonna be impacted, more, in a greater manner before the CARES Act funds came along. As you know, NJUS made an argument about replacing the street lighting around town. I started driving around looking at it, and I could see that a number of the fixtures were reaching the end of their life, which is about 10 years. So we're going to recommend that we reallocate that to NJUS to purchase lighting fixtures for the city. The $4,000, I'm waiting to get an answer from the rec department, because we have done some fencing this year, and some of that could come
Thank you. Go ahead, Councilman.
I just want to point out that funds allocated to the Nome Ice Rink and Hockey Project was a previous NSCDC grant to Nome Winter Sports Association. And that I would recommend and that the city work with Nome Winter Sports Association to determine that spending of that money, which obviously this is a pertinent time because we know that the ice rink is being removed. But it was not a grant to the city. It was through the NSCDC funds into the city that filtered down and were approved for this ice rink and hockey project. Actually, way before 2018, I think at one point they reallocated it to 2018. But I think that they are discussing that tonight. We discussed it with them, but I think that we move forward.
Well, we've had this, we tried to have a conversation a couple months ago, we couldn't get the membership together. One of the members was also injured in an accident, so we'll try to reach touch with them, get in touch with them, or we can ask that, CDC look at reallocating it to the 2021. A lot of this is accounting. They just want to clean up the books. I don't want it to be part of the delay of the their books that file.
Thank you. The next communication is from the Nome Kennel Club to the city manager, from the Nome Kennel Club with regard to their races in 2021.
So you reaffirmed the MOA with them, told them that they could still use all the lands and all that stuff.
Great, thank you. Okay, other communications that came in alternately. It seems like, I'm not sure if we had this one from Peggy Darling previously, but Ms. Darling was writing asking that servers and staff that are affected by COVID closures be given consideration in a future CARES Act funding cycle. We have a communication from Roxanne Thurman with a two-page letter that she's asking to be read into the record. Dated the 8th of December. Dear City Manager, Mayor, City Council members, I know we are all concerned about the effects the lockdown has had on our community and the economy. I truly believe the only way we can minimize the economic impact is to be able to open up safely, get our economy back on track, is to get our COVID-19 numbers down. And the only way we are going to get the numbers down is for everyone to wear a mask in public and come out in small family bubble, social distance, and wash our hands often. We all need to be proactive rather than reactive, so mask up and let's give it a try. I would like to see the city of Nome give, in parentheses and capital letters, all qualified members of each household $500 from the CARES Act phase 5. This is common sense, and anyone who has raised a child understands how much more it takes to feed, clothe, and maintain a household with children in it. By giving more to the quote, the people, unquote, there will be more money put back in the economy. I believe that restaurants should only do takeout and liquor stores should do business as usual, with no limit on sales or having restrictions on quote, unquote, normal business hours. I agree that the closing of all bars is a must and they should remain closed indefinitely until COVID-19 is safely behind us. That being said, I think there needs to be an abundant financial support for the bars, restaurants, and all businesses and their employees, not only by using the CARES Act money, but also in any way possible. Here are a few suggestions how that could go. I think the city of Nome should temporarily suspend or prorate property taxes for the businesses affected. And Nome Joint Utility can provide some kind of relief too. And also, these businesses are not fully utilizing sewer, water, trash services and should not be charged a monthly set fee. Also, the electricity used to maintain heating systems and safety in the building should be free or at least adjusted accordingly. I understand the Fuller Bar and Board of Trade are open for pull tabs and apparently are serving coffee and soda. Please tell me how patrons can drink coffee and soda with a mask on but not alcoholic beverages. It seems like discrimination to the business that also sells non-alcoholic beverages but are only allowed takeout only. Maybe the bar mandate wording needs to state serve no consumables. Again, I am in full support of closing the bars and providing CARES Act money, city property tax, and NJUS relief in some way to the businesses and the employees. I have never thought it was a good idea to have businesses shorten their hours. It seems that it would be better to allow those 40 patrons to spread out their visits throughout an 8-hour, 5-hour, or 5 per hour time frame rather than a 4-hour, 10 per hour time period. Is just common sense. Another concern of mine with the current COVID social distancing restrictions is that all citizens of Nome are not given equal opportunity to attend and or participate in city council meetings due to how many citizens which are allowed in the city hall meeting room length of time if there are too many to be in the room at once. Not all citizens of Nome have internet, Facebook, Zoom, or cable TV. I would like to see the meetings be held at Old St. Joe's where more people could, quote unquote, comfortably and safely participate. Also, I had an elder ask why citizens are required to wear masks in city buildings, but the rule does not apply to council meetings. Not only should this apply to citizens, but council members also and city employees. This is as good as I say, not as I do. Lastly, I would like to see all businesses attempt to minimize the amount of people allowed in their business at one time by using the simple rule of social distancing room space. One conservative approach to converting the CDC 6-foot separation criteria to an occupant load factor is to calculate the area of the circle with a diameter of 12 feet, which is equal to approximately 113 square feet per person. And she highlights that it came from the FEMA Corona planning documents. I do hope you all take into consideration some of my thoughts, concerns, and suggestions. Thank you for your time. Sincerely, Roxanne Gardner. Did we previously hear a communication from Melanie Banky of Polaric? Anybody recall? Okay. It may have been after our last meeting. Dear Honorable City Council members, thank you for the difficult decisions that you have had to make during this pandemic. I appreciate your leadership and understand that no matter what decisions you make, you will face criticism. I'm writing to you today to urge you to use your authority to close the bars to the public. It makes no sense that our children can't go to school or the rec center because of the pandemic, but bars are allowed to remain open. This latest community spread outbreak is related to a bar. Keeping the bars open not only subjects citizens of Nome to a greater threat to the pandemic, but also our outlying villages is known as a hub community where people are still traveling to for medical care, groceries, etc. I suggest you order the bars to be closed and use some of the CARES Act funding to provide the employees with some financial assistance due to lost wages. Thank you, Queric Incorporated, Melanie Banky, President. And I believe that is the extent of the additional communications. Did anybody else receive something directly that they would like to share? Seeing not, thank you. We will move on then to citizens' comments. Are there members in the audience today that would like to address the council? If not, we'll take you. Also, there may be some people by Zoom, but being we can't see you, I don't know if you raise your hand. And
There's a hand raising function in the Zoom thing.
yeah, but I don't know if being that we're not. Oh, maybe you can still raise your hand. I guess I'm not that familiar with it. Because I'm not seeing the hand next to the, let's see here if I try to raise my hand. Oh, okay. Yeah, Melissa Ford looks like she raised her hand. Imagine that. Hey, Missy, let's listen to you first. Hello, Ms. Ford, can you hear us?
Hi there, okay.
Thank you. Please go ahead. There's some difficulty on that, Melissa. Would you dial us on the telephone? 443-6605.
All right, am I on? Am I live?
You're on. Please go ahead. State your name for the record.
Thank you. I was calling in because I saw a thing that the city council is providing some support to the bartenders and wait staff and restaurant servers, that they were looking to make their payment dependent upon full-time employment. And I just want to be really clear. I was in the service industry for years. I don't have much skin in the game now, but when people work in that industry, it is very, very rare to have somebody considered full-time employee because of the benefit packages that are required when you have full-time employees. So I do hope that we will keep in mind that we don't necessarily want to tie it to full-time employment, but here that's the funding that we're considering. And that's it. Thanks.
Okay, great. Thanks for calling in. All right. There may be others that are out there that want to put their hand up. We'll try to monitor that, but we'll allow folks in the room at this time to speak if they'd like. Okay. We'll take one more.
Could I have the line to put your first and last name?
This is Brad Shockey.
Good evening, go ahead, you're live with the city council.
Thank you. My question is directed to the manager, Glenn. I'm following up on an email I sent to you on Friday about what is the message being sent to incoming passengers when they're taking the test upon their arrival. Because lately I'm getting passengers right off the plane into GCI. So you only have to just take our test, but we're great in isolation to come here to get a phone. So I'm just wondering what is the message being sent to them, and your response here is that I get their names. I can get their names, but that's basically after the fact, like too early in the store. So that's really the only question I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. City manager has heard your question and under his report, likely will respond. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you.
All right, try again in the room here.
My name is going to be this for this first segment of comments on the communication from the local area and express concern about being able to get some comments to the city council. So instead of having email to me, my name is Nome. I've been a resident of the Nome area for 55 years. I am 75 years old. I would like to address the emergency order banning dining in restaurants. I think this is misguided. It will make people who generally have little or no contact better at home, especially during the holidays. I've been eating at Polar Cafe virtually every day since it opened in 1975. During the COVID-19 time, I have seen more than half the tables taken out, and rigorous cleaning of the spaced out tables and other equipment in areas, all in strict compliance with state CDC guidelines. I am not aware of any restaurant transfer cases of COVID here at home. I understand it is trivial in California as well. My granddaughter still works there as a waitress. She is fastidious and disinfectant. This policy is misguided. We will be creating strictly clean place streets with other informal gatherings that are zero standards of care. It has also caused a lot of despair among workers after maintaining days and places of such despair and anger among those that want to work and provide for their families in a safe way. About 3 weeks ago, I was at the cafe and 2 infected people sat down with me at the corner. It's not until later they got tested regular meal that we knew they were infected. NC the very next day ordered us I guess the same thing. The very next day ordered us at the table to undergo 3 weeks of testing. No one at the table caught it, thanks to the care of the COVID test. Listen change. Do not say the same for transmission at home. Thank you for listening to my concern.
Thank you. Could you provide that to the clerk so she has it and doesn't have to transcribe it? Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Ken. You still have the floor.
All right, my name is Ken. So, tonight we'll be addressing once again the extension of the emergency order. I have been looking to reports and some statistics from elsewhere in the world. And we want to do as Ramon has stated, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of evidence to prove support transmission of wrestling. Ours perhaps a little more, but by far it seems as good as transmission rate is the highest at home, whether it's home today, if there's any down in the home in the about the overflow class. I would also bring up the point about the strength and hours. That all that does is increases the traffic to the same amount of traffic in 2 hours creates a higher rate density. So that, for instance, in the city to use the mid hours, was forcing folks to show up between a 2 hour segment rather than I know the time period throughout the day. Given I don't necessarily believe that it's going to expand the number of people riding. I think it's going to still be about the same number of people riding because it's a person. So they're going to choose to do it in person and they're going to choose not to do it. All you're doing is forcing virtually the same number of people to show up in this short period of time. So that's causing issues for the previous time we had about not those amounts of the other time, NSCD board, approve the scoreboard, 14 notifications, no one went 5 hospitalizations, bleeding, it started. On the CDC guidelines, they say that there's probably 15 to 20 more infections than what we're actually infected. Surgery, yes, the 10 times again. Given that, delegation to CDC is saying the fatality rate is 0.02%. It's actually lower than last week. And lastly, when you go to make these decisions, I would really like to see what numbers that you're using to try and make these decisions. I'm not sure that we have adequate numbers to really take the drastic actions that have to be considering the impact that it has in terms of doing other damage to the community. It's like the cure, what we've been doing for a cure, seems to be worse than the disease itself. And so I would ask the council to weigh more heavily the sacrifices that are being made after doing the last part. Also, a little perplexed to state that why with new reduced guidelines for quarantine coming out of CDC, that we can't allow that third COVID test for folks already anxious to count as the first test for reliable and health. As I read through the health operation daily email that they sent out, I didn't think that currently that's not being expected. And no personal test for why. Means that someone leaving anchors that has to roll surgery for over 72 hours, comes up with a big COVID test. This might became partially read under the current standard, the student comes from supplies and it wouldn't be infectious by the time you're done. Anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate your time. Again, if there are folks out in the audience that wish to call in, the number is 443-6605. But while we're waiting for that, oh, you do have one? Okay, go ahead and put them on.
For holding Jackie, your live with the city council, could you state your first and last name, please?
Yes, good evening. Samuel Johnson.
Go ahead, Jackie.
Yeah, good evening. The Central City of Nome. This is Samuel Johnson. Jackie got some county inmates in the hospital. And there was looking at a handful of people that inquired about the closure of the bars. And the economic impact of our little town is kind of overriding or kind of got to a point where it's getting harder and harder to understand whether the city of Nome other than that, I was starting to close on now, which is, all this COVID money that's taking place, whether it's federal or if it's coming from another entity, if it's said that it's tied in with COVID-19, the way I see it, and I imagine a lot of other people see it, is that half the community is known, the people surrounding, the people that live in those. One thing that I don't understand is the city of Nome is going to go ahead and take $100,000 from Northtown Economic Development, which came in COVID money, COVID-19 money. And yes, last week, the lights for Nome need to be fixed. There's work that needs to be done at the port. This should have been all included in the budget for the year of 2020. And then, I've been coming back and forth since the last 5 months, 6 months. I've had 5 surgeries in 5 months for my hip replacement. And, I'm looking at what's coming up here. Here we are, the middle of December, and the city council is finally coming to a point where they agree that transport and get some of this money out to some of the small business owners, the bars, the employees, and it's kind of a shortfall due to where we're sitting today. This is 2 weeks away, and it's just hard for me to understand where all this free money is really coming from the federal government, from NSCDC, and the fish wants to implement it towards either restoring things to back centers or the port and Nome or Nome Port Utilities. The other thing that I've heard, and I'm going to follow up now, and I want or ask, the councilman there this evening, because I heard that I did run the 2021 is welcome to come to Nome. I just want to know if that was a repeal requiring that the city council. And that's just, this is just the beginning. I was born and raised there. And I left those. That's how I thought.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Johnson, for your comments. We don't debate your statements. You simply make them at this time. But I just want to say good luck in your surgery there, Jackie.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thanks for calling. Take care. All right, we'll still leave the line open if there are folks that would like to call. And while we're waiting for that, oh, we do.
Good evening. Can I have you state your first and last name for the record? I'm sorry, I didn't catch your first and last name. Can I have you repeat it again?
Yeah, we're just turning it out. Here, we're watching the movie. federal mandate, so no question that one. If the elderly got the shield first, I think most communities throughout the nation would open up fully sooner rather than later. And then I just wanted to do, so I think there's probably another 30 seconds, I want to share some stats here, on a table I found. So, for example, 80-year-old plus bandwidth age-wise, the mean mortality rate is 8%. At 70%, it goes down to 1.6%, or 70 years old, 1.6%. At 50, it goes down to 0.2%. At 40, it goes down to 0.07%. We're talking 700 of a percent. Pretty negligible. At 20, it's 6,000 of a percent. And last but not least, is 5 to 9, it's 1,000 of a percent. And those are stark numbers in the 30s. And so I think it's really, and looking at that, the language with a real concern HPC. And hopefully we could expeditiously get those people shielded, so to speak, albeit via a vaccine. I know there's different opinions about that and all that. But that's just going to prevent those that are at a 8% vulnerability. And like I said, when you get down to the 40-year-old, the 30-year-old, the 20-year-old bandwidth, it's very negligible. And I just want to point out some of those reasons that I came across to the city and the community. And I'm done. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Mr. Hall, we appreciate your comments. Still have an opportunity to dial in, but I'm going to ask the council's indulgence in deviating slightly from the agenda to allow the city manager to make some comments here and allow some of the staff to go home.
The meeting seems like it's going to go long tonight. And we'd like to release these officers. As you were notified over the weekend, we have some very, very good news. And a lot of the credit, in fact, all the credit goes to at least 3 of these officers here. But as you well know, when the chief became chief and I became the city manager, through the efforts of former Chief Bob Estes, doing an audit, we found that we had 460 cases that had not been either completed, reviewed, or whatnot. And I'd like the police chief to come up and allow him to give notice to the community where we stand and how much we have also stayed up on the current cases from 2019 and 2020.
Do I have the floor? Sir, Mike Heinzman here. It was November 8th when I got to sit in the chief chair. I know I had a lot of work ahead of me, but not only were some things that needed to be fixed outside of the investigation, but we did have rules that prevail. One of the big rules was, Sharon's Club, came back, was a, and we had a lot of, people that were victims previously could not locate Sharon with his excellent at that period. One is the right direction, put us on this case, put us on this case, and get close to it. I know, I talked to Blair, and the contribution made was, our stockpile cases that, would help us with the DNA analysis, but the state labs, state last year, so that, have those results back to the ability to set, these cases that need to close, the DNA was set to an independent laboratory that is the one that, they recommended was closing. All those results have been, given back to us now, and once cases have been closed. I think we're on a great path. And no one can sum it up better than the guy that actually did it. I would think that's exactly what it is. Scott?
Well, I'm an investigator with Nome Police for, my name is out there in the news, first came to the town. But when I first got here, kind of got boots on the ground in a very important case, a non-talk development case, that was kind of just starting to get that way when I got here. So, I had seen that an audit was completed, with the 460 cases that were given for sexual assault. But I really didn't get to that case still continues to go on. We were also, so once we were able to get through the first major part of that investigation, I started looking at our audit, and there was a lot of work to do. There's a lot of going through case file boxes, filing cabinets, and case reports, and looking to see what was needed. The department had already started working on a lot of cases. They had gotten off a bulk shipment of evidence sent off to the state crime lab back in 2018. They had started working some of the cases in ones and started trying to collect further evidence in a lot of the cases, more contemporary cases. And I started kind of trying to work both cases with that all the way to like so going back 15 years and having to reach out to some individuals and try to gather evidence was a little difficult at times. There were some cases that a good amount of cases that had been investigated by police officers out here at the time, and simply the case just needed to be put together, sent over to the attorney's office. Some cases classified appropriately, but there were many cases that needed work. Part of that help has been Sharon Sparks. She's been a good help. I can say somebody that doesn't, I live in Nome now. I'm a resident here, but somebody who came from somewhere else and called someone up and say, hey, 5, 10, 15 years ago, you were making money and facing these things, and I want to talk to you about it. That's hard to approach. Make a cold call like that. So having Sharon was a big asset to be able to bridge that gap that way, especially to be able to talk to people who don't back in. There was a way to speak to some people about that information. A lot of people have moved out of Nome. There were some that moved away and moved out to, some still here. Part of the audit when I went through it all, with the investigator learning on, was finding out if the victim in the case wanted to still go forward, what kind of closure they should have. When I spoke to Janet Ruski and Mike Bergmeyer, who are special prosecutors for the state of Alaska, who focus on looking at these cases, especially the historical cases, they said the number one thing find out before going into any cases, does the victim want to go to the police, and that may be wrong, because, 15 years ago, they may have had an investigator, and they have been a police officer here, somebody that worked, and they didn't do what maybe they should have done, or followed all the steps. But do they want to start that over now? Because sometimes it's hard for them to put a band-aid on it, they don't want to talk about it, that's understandable. The most important aspect was to call every one of these cases and find out if you want to go forward. After sifting through many cases and updating sheets, I can say that we're down to 29 cases now actively in the criminal. Those cases range from 2010 all the way to 2020. I would say that almost half of the list here is from 2018 to 2020. So those will be our active cases that are pending DNA, that we're pending evidence on, that we're pending interviews with certain individuals that we're still tracking down. But all of these cases have been touched. They're all as far as they can be today. So they're just in limbo waiting on something. Not on the police department necessarily, but a lot of it is sent out. We've got a lot of phones that are right now that are being downloaded in the process. I have been able to, another good asset honestly has been establishing a healthy relationship with the Alaska State Trooper here in town. I myself have been reported on villages with the troopers, the rest of these investigations to follow up, to speak with people, so I felt it was necessary to speak directly with the from the Nome, city of Nome, showing that, we're taking an active interest in these cases, and not just set out, troopers who are being, they're more than happy if they go out to these villages every week, they're more than happy to send them along and let them go with something that I want, and I can do. Even today, I pulled out the shit strap and came back. So, it's been a healthy relationship to have them, resources to be able to, at no cost to the city, be able to fly out to these villages and investigate crime. So that's been good. I would say out of the 460, 238 cases is what I currently have on an active Excel sheet that took a good amount of investigative legwork to get them. The other cases all needed work done, they just didn't need as much as those. Those would be things that substantially needed some kind of work done. But out of those 238 plus the other remainder, like I said, we're down to 29. I don't think probably bring that number down to about 22. I don't know yet. So that's where we're at right now. I think that the police department is kind of good, really good stance and vision to get this done. Have a lot of energy to get it done. But like I said, I'm a computer working and driving and flying and doing everything I can to get us caught up, and then I continue to keep driving that way.
Yeah, are there any questions of the police department here on the report that was just given?
I think you may have given the number, but of the 460 cases, how many do you feel went to the DA?
All of them have gone through this. So we're taking all of these cases and having them sent to the district attorney's office with everything that we have. Whether we're not really ones to determine whether or not the case is prosecutable, that's more of the district attorney's side or the law and that kind of order. But we made sure that each case file was uploaded digitally, that we got all the evidence put into one file for the district attorney's office. Some of our cases had multiple files, kind of spread out. We did a lot of organizing, putting them all together so we could present them to the attorney. And also my Excel sheet side created the cases, breakdown all of it as well, so that we can track with one another to find out if he's showing anything that I'm not showing, and vice versa. And we're both sitting on the same board.
And that doesn't mean to be sent back to the police department for further investigation and review. But, we're trying to bring closure to some
people. Some people have indicated they do not want their cases reopened, but I do think, what seemed to be an insurmountable task a year ago, plus, is now coming to some type of at least conclusion for many. And the department, deserves a lot of credit. And, the people standing, the person Scott deserves a lot of credit. And, people that, from Sharon Sparks, to Gray, Harrison, to Cordell Murray, and to other officers who have since left here, but we're working on making sure their cases did not go, away into a cloud, but have been dealt with, because 88 cases were in 2019, which was then a record. We have, 134, which is a record this year, of sexual abuse cases. And that's on top of the 460 cases that I think the police department deserves a lot of accolades. Hopefully we never find ourselves in this position as a city again.
Well, all of your rank and file are doing a good job, and it's only because they have good leadership. And thank you, Chief Heidelman and Chief Bruckner. We're fortunate to have you all in our community and working to get this resolved. It's a great report. Are there others on the phone that would like to ask any questions? Okay, if not, I appreciate your allowing us to deviate slightly from the agenda. You gentlemen have a good evening. And we want you to have it. All right, we'll give another opportunity on the telephone. If anybody has citizens' comments, 443-6605. One more minute, and then we're going to move on. We'll have an opportunity later in the meeting again. I guess in this day and age, we don't need to wait a long time for the dial to return position. So we'll close citizens' comments at this point.
Hi, good evening, council members. Thank you for the opportunity to comment. Of course, many newly on the residents of Nome. Any comments about what has happened, what I feel has happened with the decision the city made a couple weeks ago to shut the city down or slow the city down, close the bars down. That has worked. That helped the city a lot. But we're not out of the woods. Take a look at what is happening in the state of Alaska since November 15th. If I look at the data correctly, we've been advocating in the state of Alaska over 500 cases a day since November 8th, if I remember right. That is 15,000 positive cases in a month. We're on a slight downtrend since the early December of this year, or really about 5 days ago. So the other thing is the number of deaths should be troubling to anyone that has someone die in their family. There's 169 of those in Alaska. So I heard a couple comments from residents in Nome. There are, besides the elderly and the vulnerable, there are people with issues, health issues that are vulnerable to, that should be of concern to all of us. So I'm thinking made to support the closure of bars, closure of comps, and what that does is it tells the city of Nome that it has worked. So we have a shuttle, we have a little more time to go here, the vaccines will come in this week. But like I said earlier on in my comments, we're still not out of the woods from this potential COVID situation. But I appreciate your time and the opportunity to comment. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Ashenfelter. Okay, moving on to new business now. First item we have is ordinance 20-12-01. Madam Clerk, will you read the ordinance by title?
Ordinance, 20-12-01, an emergency ordinance prohibiting the sale of alcohol in Nome for on-site consumption until January 4th, 2021, in order to reduce the impact and spread of COVID-19 throughout the city of Nome.
Thank you. Is there a motion, Mr. City Manager, would you like to speak to the rest of the ordinance? Have a public hearing first?
Now, I thought you had to,
Put it on the floor for conversation
on the
first.
floor for conversation.
I'm getting confused, but I will tell you that the 12th edition of Robert's Rules of Order was just issued in September, which is 9 years since they last did it. So I'll have some good reading over the next few nights, and then I can take and have a contest with Brian. Okay, is there a motion to adopt ordinance, emergency ordinance 20-12-01?
Move to adopt ordinance 20-12-01.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Councilmember Reeder, Councilmember Doug Johnson. Okay, the emergency ordinance is on the floor at this point. We do need to have a public hearing. And which do we do first? Chicken or the egg?
Usually we do the public hearing.
Okay, all right. The council will recess into at this time to take public testimony on ordinance number 20-12-01. Are there members in the audience or on the telephone or on Zoom that would like to comment on this? Number again is 443-6605. Seeing no hands on Zoom. You wish to testify? No, you don't have to. Again, the number, if somebody wants to call, 443-6605.
Thank you. I only comment carefully consider how young I feel it doesn't have much to do with opening schools, especially with specifically where you started for still not would mind seeing the difference our activity and food and drink activity. Seems to me that there's several differences between
We're marketing within for
Thank you. Madam Clerk, do we have somebody on the telephone or? Okay. All right, doesn't seem that we have any further, public wishing to testify on this. So we'll close the public hearing and come back into regular session. Missed it, sorry.
Good evening, could I have a line?
Mr. Manager, we're not taking any more comments.
I'm sorry, Marie, we have closed the public hearing session of the meeting.
Comment on the ordinance?
You just missed it, I'm sorry.
Can you limit it to 30 seconds? Roy, would you limit the comment? We'll go ahead and reopen it, but you, got in by the hair of your chin chin chin.
Okay, 30 seconds, no problem. Again, I'll speak to the ordinance in its working. There's no current cases in our villages, and there's the alpha no in the ordinance, so that's so cool. The other thing is, our school system got shut down. Even if you guys, can't educate, I think correctly, we shouldn't allow people to hang out in the bars. But anyway, we heard my comment earlier on the bar situation, but I wanted to add comments about the building. Thanks, bye.
Thank you, Roy. Was that yet another person clicking in? Okay, all right, we'll go back out of, public, hearing then and, into consideration of this ordinance. Mr. Manager, would you please speak to it?
Well, obviously, you've heard that this would extend the emergency decision, emergency ordinance, which is what is in your power, to make sure the bars can close or not. Since this ordinance was drafted, we have gone from 13 cases now to 21 active cases. And a lot of it is simply because either people are coming in to the city, not waiting for their second COVID test, which may take a day, deciding to go out to whether it's GCI, and that's some of our contractors, but going to Hanson, going to their family, hugging their friends, and all of a sudden we have another outbreak of COVID-19. And I could probably, and I almost know each blaze that we've been dealing with and who started it, unfortunately. And it all comes back, frankly, to people coming in off the plane, not following what they signed to do, and then we have COVID outbreaks in the city. We almost had to shut down snow removal at one point during the snow because we had a COVID-19 close contact. We are going to be closing City Hall for probably the rest of the week to the public so we can clean it because we've had a COVID close contact within City Hall. We have people coming in, and I don't know how to stop it. When we took a tough stance approach, we were criticized, and we backed off. We tried the educational approach, and I could identify age brackets, but that would be sounding discriminatory. But all I'm saying is, it's coming in through the planes, it's coming in for people who have gone down to Anchorage or whatever their reason and come back up and not follow the guidelines. And, the city has had, as you all know, ongoing campaign to encourage people to follow the 3 Ws, to follow the quarantine. And when I talked with individuals from GCI, I said, can you give me names and we'll go talk with them? Because remember, the hospital does not share names with us. Normally when a city employee goes out with it, it's easy to trace it back and how it got through us. But it is a frustrating issue, and I understand that. And no one likes seeing the community locked down. But I did attend a meeting today where the first doses of vaccine are coming in next week. The second dose is supposed to come in the week after Christmas. They'll be doing first responders first, and then they're going to go and deal with the elderly and those that could be most impacted, whether they've had diabetes, they've had heart problems. But I'm not going to confirm the numbers here because I don't think Dr. Peterson's on the phone. But help is coming. But it's going back this way. After you guys made your decision, and for a while it was tamped down, and once again, it's coming in through travel spread, then it goes into community spread. And whether 2 or 3 weeks more is going to make a difference, I think it's going to allow at least a difference to when we can start vaccinating.
Councilmember Mark Johnson.
Will you just explain that in the best scenario from somebody who deals with it on a daily basis in the front line that I've probably heard since the beginning of this? And what you just said, with all the things we're doing here, is because people are coming in from the plane. And yet we can't take the measure to require a test before they come to Nome. I don't understand that. We're recommended by North South not to do that because it's cumbersome and it's difficult to get a test in Anchorage. I think that's a bunch of BS. So I'm upset in hearing that because we were taking a lot of measures locally. We're trying to stop Iditarod, and we are not putting in measures to keep people from getting on the plane that are already infected that get here and infect other people. It's not by choice people get infected. I mean, I understand that. We have to have compassion for people who do. But we have to make decisions, including looking at having people get tested before they get on the plane as part of a regiment, so that we don't have to take all these things and affect 50 to 60 people in the restaurant and bar industry who are without jobs right now.
Yeah. I understand why the hospital is doing what they're doing. Just because you get tested 72 hours before you fly up here doesn't mean you don't have it when you do get up here. Because the quick test only tells you when the antigens have built up in your bloodstream. Now, I just took 2 quick tests over the past week. I could come down potentially with COVID-19 3 days from now because the antigens just have not built up. Usually you catch 70% of the cases with a 7-day lag.
Exactly. So why aren't we using the testing that is proven as good as providing for us that extra measure of if it catches 70% or whatever percent before they get on the plane, that less people getting here to know.
70% is caught after 7 days between tests. And even if we had, and the problem is how many people are voluntarily going and getting their second test. We don't follow up on that. We don't have that medical data. We're not involved in any of that anymore because, the pressure from the community was, we don't want government being invasive in their lives. So we backed away from that. I know that, we have problems, and it's not anymore, but we've had problems with state employees. So we tell the state employees, okay, you don't want to get tested here, then you come to Nome with a free test because the governor has ordered that on the state employees. That we can enforce, and we are enforcing that. Um, so we're using every tool that we can to try to catch these folks. Now, when I flew back from where I was, I didn't get a test. I wasn't required to have a test coming back into Alaska. I'm a Alaskan native now, or native, however it is.
Resident.
Resident. I vote here. What can I tell you? But I didn't have to take it. I flew all the way up to Nome, even though I had a stopover for a night in Anchorage. I didn't have to take a test until I got a test here. Because as a resident of Alaska, I wasn't required to do it. Even though they recommended, we still weren't required to do it. I had to say I would stay away from people in my 1 day here, and I stayed as far away from people as I could. But I mean, there are so many loopholes in different ways here that we have used the 3 days. And I know some people don't want to get up here and they're testing, and all of a sudden they get here and they test positive. Or they test positive on the second day, second time, and they're stuck here, as they would refer to it. Because they were only going to be here for a short period of time. I don't know what the answer is, but I do know that if people would only be courteous, be respectful, follow their agreements which they signed, we wouldn't be doing a lot of what we're doing right now.
Oh, Councilmember Topcott?
Maybe they don't test positive when they land, but a couple days later, the virus builds up like I mentioned. So I know the system seems kind of clunky and frustrating, but I just really worry that if we don't require people to test, day 1 and day 7 or however, that we're not going to be catching enough cases, and I really hope that folks are abiding by it. I mean, it's tough. I will say, I was tested for my parents in a wheelchair, and go with the time at the airport, and we have to go to the hospital for our test, which is a little inconvenient. But it's frustrating and tough. I just hope that people are abiding. We're just trying to do the best that we can and keep everybody safe. Nobody wants to do really bad.
Thank you, Councilmember. Next, Councilmember Doug Johnson.
I agree with Mark, but one of the things we can control here is we've got some folks that are playing with loopholes. My understanding of this is you can't go into a restaurant and have a cup of coffee or a soda. You ought not to be able to do that in a bar either. I think we need to fix that in this particular piece of legislation.
Thank you, Councilmember Mark.
I was just gonna mention that I wasn't advocating to get rid of whatever we existingly have. I'm saying that we should also, in addition, put a restriction on for somebody to get, before you get on the plane, that you have to have a negative COVID test before getting to Nome. People that travel down for medical oftentimes have to have those as part of their medical appointments. It might be the day before, you get to Nome, they still have to test. Yes, it's cumbersome, but most people are doing that, or willingly doing that as well. It's just that seems like an extra measure we can take, and especially now it's December, we need to, if we're really finding for our Iditarod or anything else in the future, we we have to start talking about these things now, and especially when we're dealing with our own community and businesses and especially the employees that we're going to be affected by our decisions based on this. And it all could be not completely prevented, but it could certainly curtail it a little bit to further to have tests prior to get on the plane, negative tests. And that's one reason why the villages have been successful and where they're at, along with North Sound's response to the COVID that's been out in the villages. They've had a really good response by village leadership and by North Sound in doing that. But one of the reasons that they are at the point they are now is because our local airline, Bearing Air, put on a provision that you have to have a negative test before getting on the plane. And we see that now. It's been a number of weeks since there's been any COVID in the villages, and it's been a measure that's been proven and worked.
Councilmember Reader?
Excuse me, you indicated quite a few reasons how you think COVID has started here in our community, and you indicated that you have a general idea of the age range that you think that is, but you never once mentioned a bar in your list, but yet the ordinance that we have in front of us is to close them down. So I would like you to tell me why we have this ordinance in front of us when you have indicated numerous other reasons why we have it here, but that was not one of them.
Well, I think that is, I will clarify my comments.
Okay.
There is a lack at times in the ability for us to police the bars in terms of the young people that are in there drinking and sharing bottles and sharing glasses. And some of our problems that come through that way. I mean, actually, before, when we started this all back 4 weeks ago, it was employees who were young employees who were coming down or were being exposed to COVID-19 and was forcing a couple of the bars to close at that point.
Because the employees had it?
The employees had exposure because of how it was being, people were visiting around the community.
But it wasn't in the bar that they got it, they just had it and they just happened to work at a bar?
So they got it, looks like from the bar and from people, in other words, interacting with people at the bar, and then family members. And whatever, we were very lucky at one point where someone who was a younger person went into a bar knowingly having COVID-19. Unfortunately, we had, that was 2 months ago, no outbreak that we know of on that individual. But yes, there is a problem with these establishments, and and it is the recommendation, and Morgan Stanley's not here tonight, but it's the recommendation that we try to keep the restaurant. They're even talking to me about the restaurant, which I see as a little bit different animal in this case, but they are lobbying for the city manager to keep the restaurants closed through the same period of time.
Okay, well, I believe we heard earlier that restaurants are the least of our worries as far as being transmitters of COVID-19. I can't remember who shared that detail. Was that you that shared that detail with us? And
Those were Ramon's comments.
Ramon's comments. Okay, and I recently traveled as well, and every place that we went to required that you wear a mask until you went and sat at your designated table, and then you could remove your mask to eat and drink at your designated table. Once you got up, you had to put your mask back on if you're going to the bathroom, if you were leaving the facility, whatever. And that seemed to be sufficient for the community that I was visiting. And so, and they also had limited occupancy. They weren't able to have a full on maximum occupancy in their facility. They had tables marked off, however they chose to do that. They had, alternating, like a group sat here, didn't sit here, a group sat here, didn't sit here. But they had them, people seated all over the place, people eating and drinking, enjoying community time. And I would like to see us try to enact something along those lines versus closing people down. Because as we have heard from both sides of the table, it's not working. It's not working well. And this isn't our major point of contention as far as the spread of COVID coming into our community or being spread through our community. So why we're trying to fix something small with a big, huge band-aid is just not, I'm not understanding why we're trying to do this. We are trying to keep our community afloat. We're trying to keep our businesses afloat. I don't think that the best way to do that is by expending all of our CARES Act funding or requiring our businesses to keep looking for CARES Act funding. I don't think that's a very sustainable way to keep our businesses open beyond this pandemic. I think it is more feasible for our community to try to figure out a way to keep our businesses open as much as that's possible, figure out through the CDC's social distancing guidelines or just common sense. I mean, you walk into a place and you can see like where people are going to be able to fit or not, and try to figure out a way to let these places stay open and put the measures in place that are already being required by the CDC, our city government, and just their patrons. I mean, people don't want to go somewhere where they feel like they're going to catch something. I get there's people out there that don't care one way or the other, but there are people who may want to go have a beer and a pizza at Milano's or wherever they can do that at and not want to have to not be able to enjoy those. Like Ramon, I mean, everybody knows about the table. Those people have been sitting at that table for years and now they can't go there. And I get his concern. Like now you're making me go into a smaller setting with people who I may possibly be in contact with that may have been in contact with, X number of other people, and we're trying to isolate people. And isolation at this point in time for our mental health is not a good thing. I mean, as we just heard the numbers from the police department, 134 cases just this year alone. So isolating people from each other is not healthy for our community. Closing our businesses is not good business practice, besides the fact that it's not good common sense for keeping our community thriving long enough to see an Iditarod even bother to try to come up here, let alone any other tourist industry, if we can actually open that up again. There's not going to be anything here left to see. And so rather than closing everything completely, I would prefer that we try to figure out a way to open these places and not close them. Like, to me, that makes way more sense. I mean, you're telling us these things are coming in on the airplane. I think Mark has a great suggestion about making people test before they get here. What's the difference if they take it in Anchorage or if they take it in Nome? I'd rather catch them in Anchorage than catch them here.
And we can look into that, but that's not something you're going to be able to roll out immediately. And and there's a lot of debates and different sides. And I've done a lot of reading too, because I'm trying to understand what's going on. And, I just know that that person who tested positive on their first test may not have tested positive 3 days before. And maybe it's good to have even more testing. But the problem still gets down to the people who are landing and then just, thinking, oh, it won't hurt me to run into Hanson's or AC's, or I'm going to run down to the post office. We could literally give you a map on what people do when they come into, especially if they've been out of town for a few weeks.
We can't stop people from exercising free will. I mean, I give that to all of us. We're not going to stop that.
but.
No matter what ordinance we put out, we're not stopping that. I'm
I
sorry.
agree. People have signed a document.
I
They have
agree.
put their names to it. That this is what they would agree to do, and frankly, they're protecting not only themselves, but they're protecting the people they interact with the community. You know, there has to be a meaning. You know, I grew up where a handshake was as good as a contract. That's how I was brought up. When I sign a document like that, I follow the document. I just went through it. And I'm gonna tell you, I got hungry for donuts towards the end of the week, which is one of my treats. But I didn't go down to Hanson's to get my donut.
You should have called me. I would have delivered.
I know, right?
Okay, let's, Councilmember Topcock has her hand up. And then I want to ask the other two council members on the phone if they had a comment. Councilmember Topcock.
People were most of them were elders, and some of them were just regulation helping them out. Really, very precious little woman who has a really high risk of contracting COVID. It's very there are social barriers, there are knowledge barriers, there's a lot of racism. Something fairly identity. Well, not everybody cares about that. Bring that up so that and also, I get it's frustrating you can't go to the restaurant and you want to go out, you want to go to the lunch or pizza and beer or whatever. But you can do that at home as well. You can order a pizza, eat at home, get beer, eat a seat, eat at home, invite some friends over, keep your bowl small. And why is that? I'm doing the same, but I get it's not quite the same as sitting in the restaurant, but this is temporary. We're just trying to get through this pandemic right now, and then we can go back to, whatever new normal is on the other side of the finish line. We have vaccines and it's still closed. If we can just keep this under control for now, it's far more worth it to me not to see, devastation of human life. We've seen that in the past, in recent past. We've had pandemics before, they're devastating, it's awful, I get that. But I would much rather spend money than people's lives lost in all of this. If the hospital recognizes that we can take action, I'm absolutely for it. As a medical professional, I know what they're doing. I'm not a doctor. I went to law school. I have my JD. I know at least a little bit about the law, and I worked really hard to get to that place, just like they worked really hard to get to the place where they are with the medical advice that they give. So I'm willing to trust them a lot because people trust me to do legal work. Because I worked hard to get to this place, we can trust me.
Thank you, Councilmember. We'll circle back to you, but if I could ask Councilmember Brown or Councilmember Martinson if they had any comments that they wish to make.
And I didn't realize that these council members, suggesting that it's an additional.
Thank you. Councilmember Martinson?
Oh, yeah. I'm in favor of the emergency order. Shortly, I guess. Obviously, it's not something we want to do.
I think the time period, doing it again is beneficial, strong, is working. So I'm in favor.
Thank you. Councilmember Brown?
All right, yeah, couple of things. Been looking online at the different, charts and whatnot. Risk levels, activity, that kind of thing. Bars end up in the top highest risk category on every single one of them that I've found. What I'm looking at right now is throughout by the medicine, and they rank things from 0 to 9. Bars are in number 9, along with large music concerts, buffets, and casinos. Restaurants, indoor seating is at number 6. So it's still in what they're showing as the red zone. Another comment I've got is the North Downtown Sports puts out the weekly dashboard. And one thing I've been looking at over the week is, has anybody been in the hospital? And this latest one that they just put out shows 5 hospitalizations since the beginning of the pandemic. Last week showed 3. So it tells me that there were 2 cases in the last week that were serious enough that people had to be hospitalized. And I've been reading a number of posts on Facebook and whatnot about people's experiences with COVID from Nome, and that were pretty serious, but they didn't end up in the hospital. But just because there may be 2 people in the hospital right now doesn't mean that there weren't a number of other people that were seriously affected. As far as the additional testing in Anchorage, I've got some mixed feelings. I've had some discussions with folks mainly on social media regarding that. And the comments that popped up is that, well, what happens if they're positive? If they're a known resident and they test positive in Anchorage, is the city going to pay for their housing and food in Anchorage if you're not going to let them come back to Nome? Of course, my answer is no, of course not. But I think we're getting pushback that I do agree that that's something that we should do if we can. If we can get Alaska Airlines on board with that, where just like with Ryanair, where they would have to show a negative test within the prior 72 hours in order to even check in and get on the plane. I think that would go, I don't know, the long ways or short ways, but it would assist in keeping new cases out of Nome. It does seem like a large number of the new cases are listed as travel related and identifies because of the city of Nome travel policy. When Knoxdown announces them. So I think getting it blocked earlier is better. If they never even make it to Nome, that's even better. So yeah, I'm in favor of continuing the bar closure because it is one of the highest risk activities that you can do. Um, so there we are.
Thank you. I guess a couple of comments, having listened around the room, the testing in Anchorage as an additional test, to me, I don't see that as a bad thing. There are some folks that feel that if I tested 3 days ago in Anchorage, that ought to count as my first test in Nome, and that I then could test 4 days later and I can be done. I guess I've been out of Nome twice since March for medical things, and I think there are a lot of people that kind of act the way I do when I go to Anchorage. I take care of my business appointments that I have, and then I shop like a banshee up until, an hour before I can drop the stuff off at Alaska Airlines and get on the airplane. And so during that, first time when I'm going to a doctor or, I'm not likely to have been exposed at that point. But if I took my test then on, after I left the doctor's appointment on Thursday or Friday, and then, spent the weekend shopping, that's going to be the place where I'm more likely to catch something, I would think. And I don't know, we're lucky here in town that, testing is available, through Norton Sound on both ends of it. I don't know the testing in Anchorage. I think that must come with some kind, somebody, I don't know if you have to pay for it there.
We just had an article in the Daily News a couple days ago about all the different drive-through sites and stuff that don't require a doctor. I don't know if that's something we're going to decide as part of this thing, but I'm just saying that we're taking provisions that are affecting us locally and in discussion, whether we should look at other things as well.
I guess just to finish the deal is, I kind of feel right now that, this last couple of week reset, if you can call it, has done some good. It's almost like we're so close, but yet we're so far away. And I just feel that, continuing for another couple of weeks, hopefully can get us to tamp down more of this. As Glenn was saying, a lot of it's coming in by air. And, if folks just are not going to follow the protocol when they get here, folks are asking, why the police aren't down there, arresting people. The police can't be down here and over there and meeting the plane and following everybody around town. It just doesn't work. There's got to be some kind of personal commitment to, protecting oneself as well as the community. And so I guess my feeling is that this emergency ordinance as proposed, it's a couple more weeks, and that we really should continue with this during this period, but then also should there be a more staggered approach. And I can't help to think, as the suggestion was that we want to keep folks in business. Somebody said don't shorten hours because that puts more people in the in contact at the same time. I don't think that when it comes to the bar situation, that might happen if you have to go into business, but it's not going to be happening at the bar. And maybe the happy medium is, I know that start about 2:30 in the morning is when the ambulance buzzer goes off much more. And, you know, could we instead look at something where, you know, we get, the later in the night, the more people lose their inhibitions. And, you know, can we maybe go with something the next round in reopening that, you know, maybe we close things down at 10 o'clock at night or 11 o'clock or midnight, but, you know, shorten a little bit of the hours and see if we, you know, I mean, that I think would meet both sides. It will allow the businesses to get going. Hopefully it doesn't encourage everybody to, you know, power drink, you know, before midnight type of thing. You know, we probably need to let the liquor stores be open a little bit later than the bars on that. And my final thing, which I just remembered, Councilman, ex-council member Stan Anderson and I used to have a thing where we pulled off each other's shoes and poured our shot in there and drank on the other, and that probably would really cut down on COVID.
If you survive that, I'm fairly certain COVID is not going to get you, Mr. Hanlon. Oh my gosh.
So anyway, sorry, I got off subject there.
No, I think that was a very good visual. Thank you.
But anyway, if there are not any
Oh
further
my God.
comments on the ordinance, Councilmember
Something you
Johnson.
just brought up, I just wonder if the city has reached out to the local restaurants and bar owners who deal with public all the time to look for some of these solutions or suggestions. Kenny had some good suggestions.
Well, just so you know, I have Dave Barron reaching out on a regular basis. You know, he worked with them closely and just try to get reopened back up. And we will explore with them some ideas, maybe opening up in a more gradual way. I do know that when we were at 25%, I don't believe a restaurant opened up. It was when we hit 50% that we started seeing some restaurants open up. Some restaurants have a very good carry-out, tremendous carry-out business, which isn't true for the other restaurants, you know. And then, as a couple of the restaurateurs have actually said to me, every time we start talking about an outbreak of COVID-19, all of a sudden their business drops because people are wary of moving out of their bubbles. And they look at this outside the bubble. And I think we've lost this.
Okay, are there any other comments or are there any amendments to be proposed to the ordinance?
I know, let me look again.
This particular ordinance is just dealing with the sale of alcohol.
Correct.
It is not dealing with restaurants.
That's correct.
That's in the emergency order. That would be up for review.
This isn't going to close down some of the alcohol establishments who choose to serve coffee and tea instead of beer and pull tabs. Correct? They can still do that if they so choose.
But that's something that we're gonna have to take a look at. This was something that, came as being a little unexpected.
I think it sounds genius because they figured a way to continue operating that's outside of what we have deemed not necessary.
And
Just
we
saying.
have,
The will to survive is strong.
and pull tabs is an addiction out
Yes, and a very good source of income for many of our.
there. I'm not.
And with that, we're
Nonprofit
getting off the subject. If there's no further comments or amendments on it, can we have a roll call, please, on the adoption of emergency ordinance 20-12-01? And if I recall, this needs at least 5 votes, or does it may require, I mean, 6 is better, but it doesn't pass on a 4 deal on an emergency ordinance, it needs to be 5. So roll call, please.
Councilwoman Pappas, can I have your repeat, please?
Yes.
It's so weird. One second you can hear her really good, the next second you can't hear her at
She'll
all.
flash you right out of the room.
Councilman Brown,
Yeah.
Councilman Doug Johnson,
Yes.
Councilman Mark Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Martinson,
Yeah.
Councilwoman Rader.
No.
We have 5 yeses and 1 no. This has passed the first reading.
This is the only reading. This is an emergency ordinance. The ordinance has been adopted. Does anybody need like 30 seconds? Okay. Council will stand in at ease here for a moment. Members on the other end, we're back in the room here. Move on then to item B on our agenda. Madam Clerk, will you read resolution 20-12-01 by title?
The resolution certifying that the municipality did suffer significant effects during the federal-based year from fisheries businesses activities that occurred within the SMA 11 Mountain Pond Fisheries Management Area.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt resolution 20-12-01?
I move to adopt resolution 20-12-01.
Councilmember Reader, Councilmember Mark Johnson. Is there any discussion?
Can you explain it? I looked up some of these codes and stuff, but I still didn't understand what I was reading. It looks like we're looking for money because of some fishing activities that maybe we weren't so great on. But I wasn't
This is
quite
a
sure.
standard resolution that is done each year.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry.
yeah, there are a couple of these that come up, and this is just a standard deal that makes us eligible for potential funding through this program.
They have to do a resolution.
Okay, I caught that part when I was reading, but I was like, but what is this? I didn't get what exactly we were. why. The why was kind of escaping me. Okay, thank you.
Any questions on the telephone? If not, a roll call, please, on the adoption of the resolution.
Councilman Brown,
Yes.
Councilman Beth Johnson,
Yes.
Councilman Mark Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Martinson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rader,
Yes.
Councilwoman Poplar. We have an approved resolution 20-12-01.
Thank you. Moving on then to the next item, resolution 20-12-02. Madam Clerk, would you read this by title?
A resolution of the city of Nome authorizing the city manager to develop and implement phase 6 of CARES Act funding for businesses and individuals impacted by COVID-19.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt resolution 20-12-02?
Move to adopt resolution 20-12-02.
Second.
Councilmember Reader, Councilmember Mark Johnson, discussion, or Ms. Manager?
Okay. This was based on 3 weeks. We're gonna probably have to give me some leeway to adjust it, to take into consideration 5 weeks. I don't know exactly how much each business does. If we were looking at it, if you had gross sales over 3 weeks of $6,000, you would be eligible for a credit of $3,000. Like that, if we're looking at going through at least next week and possibly beyond. The other thing is, the reason why we use part-time is defined under the law as anything under 29 hours, and anything over 30 hours is considered full-time and is at a $600. So that's why I chose that. And it's possible that someone could be working multiple jobs and still come up with 40 hours or 30 plus hours and then be eligible for $600 a week credit. So a lot of this was also driven to help the employees impacted by the decision to shut down their businesses. And it also involved the cabbies, because we also then turned around and issued an order that they were only supposed to take 1 person at a time unless they were taking the entire household. And I've heard that may not be always being followed, and we're going to be looking into that. But that is the intent to help the cabbies and the cab companies that might be impacted in a negative manner.
Thank you. Are there comments from council?
I have a question. Earlier, Melissa Ford joined us and indicated something about that most of the bartenders are not full-time, and I don't know like how many hours they typically get in a week, because I don't know much about that. So would we be hurting some of the people that she was referring to by using this as a criteria?
Well, I'm just following several criteria. Now, if you want to increase the part-time number, you can take it up to 100. It's up to you.
Well, then you brought me another question when you started talking. You said something about they could have multiple jobs and they could get over 40 hours a week. So this isn't just their part, or this just isn't their bartending job. It could be their entire package. That's where you got me lost.
Well, people in the service industry that when I've been working in community setting services, they're typically working 2 or 3 service jobs. So they might be bartending at one bar and then bartending at another bar. They can, just like what we've done before, they can aggregate their hours. They just need to show us where they're working, how many hours on average they put in. And, the form will be designed that way, we're working on the form now, to allow them to, if I'm working as a bartender here, but I'm also combine their hours and maybe take themselves over. If they go over 30 hours, they're automatically considered full-time.
So they don't all have to be in the service industry hours, though they can be like, if they say work at Quirk, for instance.
Yeah, they have to be in service industry.
So they can only count their hours in a service
Service
industry to
industry,
count towards
yes.
this. Okay, that probably needs to be clarified better because the way you said it and the way you mean it are not
Okay.
meeting. So I'm just gonna throw that out there.
We will add into the document, make sure it says service.
Okay, yeah, and then,
it's service to the bars and the restaurants. That's where this program is to help those folks that have been impacted by a decision to close down a particular industry.
and then my second comment was on the second half of the business based on the 2019 sales records. Can we just say grossing whatever they gross and they have it be half of that? Because it's kind of strange that you're gonna say if you gross from 3,000 to 4,500, they'll get $2,000, but $1 or 1 penny more, you get $2,500. Like, to me, it just seems like it'd be.
All the time we've done the other.
I know, it just seems strange. that you just, like,
Well,
there's like one more penny. I mean, and you got $500 more, and so it just seems strange to do it this way. And you got somebody like, that close and not getting the extra $500.
remember, we have not been audited people on we've looked at a couple, but we have not been audited.
Okay, well, you're saying you're basing it on sales tax records, which we have copies of, so why wouldn't we be
Well,
using
we
our
can-
tax records and not theirs? Just,
We can, this is a little bit different from when we were doing a lot of businesses that did not have to pay sales tax. You have a large number of businesses in town that don't have to pay. This is a little bit different. We can go in and pretty much look at what their numbers were for a particular month. It's a little different when we're spanning 2 months. And it's a half a month here and it's a half month or more here. So we're gonna still have to hope that they are reporting the right tax register.
Make a suggestion or actually propose an amendment.
Go ahead, Councilman.
Okay, so I would propose an amendment that we classify, part-time as up to, well, less than 20 hours per week. And the full-time category as 20 hours per week or more. Leave the dollar amount the same in that section. And then also, I would like to, I'd like council member Reader's comment about the 50% of gross sales. I'll leave that to separate amendment, just so it's not doesn't get messy.
What's that? He wanted to deal with the employee hours. Oh, yes.
So I second the amendment and also the thought process on the next one.
Okay, so with this one, the amendment proposed by Councilmember Brown, seconded by Councilmember Mark Johnson, is to change the hour designation to 20, and then, or is it 19 and then 20 and above?
Well, I would make it less than 20, and then the second category is 20 and above. So if somebody works 19 and a half, 19 3/4 hours, they would still be in there. They're not excluded.
Okay, so 20 is the breaking point.
Yes.
Okay. Less than 20 for part-time and 20 above for full-time.
Under discussion.
Yes.
Under discussion, one thing is that I voiced this to Glenn in the past, is that we need to get this out full quite paced, because most of these people are missing this paycheck right now around this time, because they've been closed for 3 weeks, and they've been closed or oftentimes off for that period of time. And also to make recognition, especially for the employee part of it, is that it is a 5-week time period, not a 3-week or 4 week.
Okay, so less than 20 and 20 and above, same numbers, but that it's a maximum of 5 weeks to be applied for.
What's the rationale for the 5 weeks?
Because we just added on, probably.
Because we just added a couple weeks to it.
Just if we-
Okay, so it's been 3 so far, and then 2 prospective weeks, and so 5 so.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Okay, any further discussion? Not a roll call, please, on the amendment, changing part-time to less than 20, full-time to 20 and above, and basing it on 5 weeks maximum. Roll call, please.
Councilman Mark Johnson.
Yep.
Councilman Martinson.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Rader.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pasco.
I saw her lips move, but I didn't hear it.
A hand? Yes, with a hand? Okay, thank you.
Councilman Brown.
Yes.
Councilman Doug Johnson.
Yes.
You have approved amendment number 1, changing from part-time and full-time.
Okay, then there was an amendment proposed for the business section, Councilmember Brown.
Yeah, so I would propose an amendment that we eliminate the various tiers, and instead we would state that the benefit to businesses will be 60% of the average of revenues from November and December of 2019. So you take in other words, you take the 2 months, add them together, divide by 2, then take 60% of that. And the reason for 60% is we're talking 5 weeks instead of 2 or 3. Does that work? And then we should probably put a maximum benefit in there of say 15,000. Or not the benefit, the maximum revenue based on, so the maximum benefit would be 7,500.
Okay, that's quite a jump, but okay, I hear you. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Reader on a second. So the amendment on the table is to set the business benefit based on 2019 sales tax revenues for the months of November and December 2019 average, and the benefit be 60% up to a maximum of 15,000. Was that?
No, 75.
Oh, up to a maximum of 7,500.
Mm-hmm.
Does that paraphrase your?
Yeah, that's what I had in mind.
Is there a second? Or was there a
Yeah,
second?
I just seconded it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. So discussion on that, including Glenn.
I think we can need to work on what you're talking
I think we're gonna be a little bit light for the businesses, considering it's winter time and their utility bills are 2,500 to 3,000. You won't have the employees. That's probably too much. I'd be happy to get hired. Make up their lost revenue for a whole month. What is it, revenue?
Well, an amendment to the amendment, but, okay, so the amendment,
Friendly suggestion if the amendment, friendly suggestion if the, people who made the amendment might consider going to 75%.
$75% of the average revenue based on sales tax returns for the months of November, December of 2019.
One of the
Well-
big thing affected is the cap.
I think that's a little bit raising the cap to,
10,000?
10,000.
That would be, I think that would be perfect.
I'm still along with that.
Okay. Withdraw the first amendment and restate it with the 10,000. Is that acceptable, Gerald, with Councilmember Brown and Councilmember Reader?
Works for me.
Acceptable to me.
Okay, so the motion amendment that we're having under consideration is that 60% of the average revenues of November and December 2019, based on sales tax records, with a maximum benefit of $10,000. Roll call, please.
Councilman Martinson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Reader,
Yes.
Councilwoman Tophouse,
You got it,
Councilman Brown,
Okay, we got a finger, thank you.
Yeah, we heard yes.
Oh, you heard it that time?
Yeah, little,
Councilman Brown,
Yes.
Councilman Doug Johnson,
Yes.
Councilman Mark Johnson.
Yes.
And approved amendment number 2.
Okay, are we good with this then, to vote on resolution 20-12-02 as twice amended? Roll call, please.
Councilman Doug Johnson,
Yes.
Councilman Mark Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Martinson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Reader,
Yes.
Councilwoman Tophouse, Councilman Brown.
Yes.
We have an approved resolution 20-12-02 amendments.
Thank you. The next one is 20-12-03. Madam Clerk, would you read this by title?
Resolution 20-12-03, a resolution granting non-public school request of $60,000 in CARES Act funding to cover the additional costs of providing instruction due to COVID-19 pandemic.
Thank you. Is there a motion to, wait, that was to read. Okay, is there a motion to adopt resolution 20-12-03?
I move to adopt resolution 20-12-03.
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Reader, Councilmember Mark Johnson. Mr. Manager?
yes, because of the impact of what has happened with COVID-19, so the schools had to go offline, where they've been successfully online. In room, I reached out to the superintendent and asked if she could use some additional COVID funding to help bridge the school costs. And she submitted a request for $60,000, which the supporting letter is attached.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments on this resolution?
I have a question. They just got money. The last time we were giving out money and we gave them more money than they asked for, just in case something like this happened, but they need $60,000 more than that.
fire department might be coming back and looking for that money to.
Okay, we've got the school under consideration. Any further discussion? The general fund, request will be much less this year. They're doing a good job, I think. Certainly trying. Roll call please on the adoption of 20-12-03.
Councilwoman Reagan,
Yes.
Councilwoman Hopcott,
Got it?
Councilman Brown,
Yes.
Councilman Doug Johnson,
Yes.
Councilman Mark Johnson.
Yep.
Councilman Martinson.
Yep.
We have approved resolution 20-12-03.
Thank you. Next item is 20-12-04. Will you read that by title?
A resolution of the city of Nome approving the allocation of $100,000 in Norristown Economic Development Corporation Community Benefit Shares COVID-19 funds to the Nome Joint Utilities System Streetlight Safety Enhancement Project.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt resolution 20-12-04?
I move to adopt resolution 20-12-04.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second that.
Councilmember Brown, Councilmember Doug Johnson. Mr. Manager.
The council had requested, me to reach out to AML, as you may remember, because we wanted to allocate, I believe it's $160,000 for improving street lighting as part of, CARES Act funds. The AML, said that, they, through DBO, did not feel that this was a safety issue. That, I think enhanced lighting is a safety issue that they disagree. So if we have this $100,000 available, and JUS has been able to acquire fixtures that are even less expensive than this long, I'm recommending that you follow through with what your original request was. To put some money into the CARES Act from that, which we can't do. So we're going to recommend using NSPDC funds.
Thank you. Councilmember Mark Johnson.
So this is referred to, it's kind of confusing because it's referred to dash COVID-19 funds. Is this tied to,
NSPDC gave us probably within the first week or 2 weeks when COVID-19 was hitting the community, $100,000. Ultimately, we received the funding from the federal government, which meant we ended up not having to touch these funds because we had a sufficient amount of CARES Act funding. And this has been a football within the organization of what to do with the money and where should we direct it to. This is where we're at.
And has NSCDC been contacted with regard to spending this?
What did he say?
It's allowable. But we would do the
Okay, we still. Okay, the reason I didn't even make a recommendation to approve it is because it still says COVID-19 funds. And I'm still struggling with how lights in our city are COVID related. And that's why I'm still not super sold on it yet, even though you're telling me that, I mean, you just said that AML was like, yeah, no. but now somehow it's
I don't-
okay just because it's from a different pocket.
I don't know what the regulations were on how NSCDC originally made this decision. If you know that certain other organizations do not have the same requirements, the tribal organizations do not have the same requirements that the city government does. And that creates challenges at times. Whether you want to take out strike COVID-19, I don't think that's going to make any difference.
But it does make a difference.
Well, no, when I'm talking about, I don't know,
So if NCDC gave us this money for COVID-related expenses, the lights in our city, while a safety issue, I agree with 100%. If you told me that they gave us this money for safety issues, I would be all over this. But you're saying it's for COVID-related expenditures, and just because they have different requirements for their money accounting doesn't negate the fact that this is not a COVID-related item for us to spend money on.
let's, there are so many ways that, I don't have an answer for you. I could go into the whole alliteration of what was allowable in COVID-19 and what's not. Does it make logical sense of what the federal government allowed us to spend the money on, no matter what the issue was? And we did take advantage of that opportunity, and that helped the city from a revenue standpoint. But you can't use the CARES Act money for revenue purposes. I mean, this is the conundrum that we find ourselves in. I don't know where this money came from NSCDC. NSCDC every year has provided the city somewhere in the neighborhood of $500,000, which allows everybody, no matter what their financial status, to get a reduction in their utility bill. Where under our requirements, you had to sign a document saying that you were impacted and you were able to get. These are the different rules that you're playing under, and sometimes if you try to think what's the logical sense, your mind is going to probably blow up because there's not a lot of logic in some of these things.
Right, but in the past, we have chosen to spend our community benefit share money for things that our community has requested. We have not, and I realize that Mr. Hanlon has applied for the money before as well under the CBS, and we have provided money for some lighting improvements, I believe, in a couple of spots over by like Boys and Girls Club and stuff like that, if I remember right. But this funding has been given to us under COVID guidelines, not under the CBS that they typically give it to us under. So if they were to give it to us under their other guidelines that says do this, do what you will with for your community, that would be one thing, but that's not what this money was given to us for. So
The money was given to the city to do, frankly, what was in the best interest of the city. I mean, I guess that's the best way of looking at it. At one point, we were looking at the possibility of, if CARES Act and all that happened, we were looking at the possibility of having to lay people off or not provide police services or anything like that. That did never happen. But this gift or grant to us was already given to us before any of those decisions were made.
it says right here in their letter, it says, and the 2020 COVID-related disbursement. On page 12 of our thing, or item B, I guess in the top block, or page 12 in the bottom, I don't know which gets you to it quicker, but it clearly indicates that and I don't know if they're giving it to us just from their normal CBS funding, or if this is special CARES Act funding that they're getting to pass on to us,
No. It's
or
not-
how that's going to,
not-
I mean,
NSCDC did not get CARES Act funding. This is just independent.
okay, so if,
if you want to look at community benefit share, at one time, when the city used to be awarded those funds, the money went to projects inside the city.
Mhm.
It did not go to this area where the council made that as a decision from the council to go, the common council to go in that direction. This is a unique $100,000. And, you know, we're fortunate that we do not have to take it out of either city coffers or NKUS have to turn around and increase their rates. And, you know, lighting is a safety issue. I could have gone back and argued and made a point in the community that at points is 20 hours plus darkness, lights are important. We didn't go and make that argument.
Right, but we've also tabled a lot of things that you had provided to us as a wish list, if you will. You provided us a wish list, and I don't recall seeing lights on that wish list at all. So if that wish list had some things in there that maybe didn't quite cut it, because they were, people were like saying, oh, well, what do you need new chairs for? What do you need new phones for? What do you need new, computer things for? Those were the questions that were being asked at the time. Like, why do you need all this stuff? But lights wasn't one of them. And I know we haven't funded the projects that were on our wish list yet. And if we have a fire department and a school system that's going to come back for some COVID funding, like, to me, those are actual COVID related community needs. And yet again, lights, I get it, are a safety issue. And I totally agree that we probably need to upgrade them. But yet again, we're getting this under COVID related disbursements. They expect it to be used for COVID related functions. And if they didn't care if we used it for that, it would have been better for them to say, here's a community benefit share, decide what you want to do with it. And then if we chose to use it for lights, then that would be one thing. But I can't in good conscience say that a light upgrade in our city is COVID related function.
Well, and that's why we're not using at this point, we did not make go and appeal decisions that we could have appealed. I mean, and that was a decision, a recommendation that you guys made 4 weeks ago that you're ready to spend money. And the city staff also went out and expanded the COVID-19 funding by going through a very tedious process with FEMA, which allowed another $380,000 essentially to go back to the business. And the wish list, I'm not a big fan of that word, obviously, but those are things that are going to need to be done. And somehow, some way, over the next year. We were hoping that we were going to get a decision from the federal government, which we're still waiting for, that we would have some CARES Act money to pay for it. And we've never gotten that decision, or we would not be talking about putting more money into the community directly to help stabilize it, and help deal with the restaurants and unemployment. Nikki was working on charts today, to see where we stand, so that we could estimate tonight when we're making decisions, do we have this money? Because we're getting down to the bottom of the CARES Act funds. So, it's a policy decision on the part of the council. I have made my recommendation, and this is the recommendation the city manager is making. And if you don't want to vote it, vote it down, and we'll find another way in place to put money. But when someone turns around and starts mentioning streetlights to me, and I haven't seen the darkness in a few months, and I started looking around, and I said, yeah, because I go to bed at 10 o'clock at night. I'm not up even when the street lights might come on at 2 o'clock in the morning. So, I think this is a way for the city taxpayers not to be directly impacted. It represents about 1/3 of a cent of mill rate.
And I'm certainly not here to argue on the thing. I made the request previously on behalf of the utility. It's something that needs to be done, and you know, when I thought that potentially it fit under CARES, I wrote this letter. Council considered it, said, yeah, go ahead with the project, but you got to find out that you know, AML says it's okay. Well, AML said it wasn't okay, so that CARES money went another direction. You know, if the NSCDC funds, which originally were the ones that put all these lights up 10 years ago, is not being used for it, that's okay. I mean, you'll see this request coming when your regular budget comes out. I mean, it's something that does need to be done at some point in time. And I guess, you know, the thing that we kind of glossed over earlier this evening was the fact that NSCDC this year, instead of $100,000, is giving $200,000 towards community benefit. And I know the comment was, you know, we need to figure out, you know, what we're going to do with that. Are we going to throw it in the city coffers for some of our projects? Are we going to hold to a similar, you know, ask the community type of thing? You know, money that was allocated last year under the CBS program, I seriously doubt that, you know, it certainly didn't get spent on a lot of the projects that they, you know, presented, because there's been no school travel. You know, the checkpoint hasn't been open, and so, you know, what's coming up for this next thing is not going to be that same thing. So, you know, maybe this is the year to take that 200,000 and put it into only city projects, which maybe this is one of them. And you know, we figure some other way to, you know, I mean, being this did say COVID on it, although NSCDC did approve this project as an eligible use of those funds. So that's all. I'm not here to argue on behalf of NJUS for this. You know, NJUS doesn't care where the city comes up with the money, but they are going to request that the city come up with the money for the lights, because that's something that comes with your property tax, not with your payment of your utility. So,
Is there an expiration date on the CDC money?
I think we saw in the memo from Nikki that, and from NSCDC, that they're looking at getting response back to how we're spending our previous year's money, including this $100,000 for the next year's money.
But is there, on this $100,000 that we were given for COVID relief money, is there an expiration date on it?
Well, there, if I think I understand what you're asking, Adam, there was an expectation that we would have spent it by the end of October of 2020. And we have asked for an extension so that we can purchase the lights and have obviously no joint utility purchase them and install it for the city.
Okay.
okay, well, we don't want to sit here till 11 o'clock to beat this issue, I don't think. Are there further comments on the telephone? If not, let's just vote it up or down. Roll call, please, on the adoption of Resolution 20-12-04.
Councilwoman Hopkins,
She got thumbs up.
Got her from me.
right, see your mouth movement. Councilman Brown,
Yeah,
Councilman
No.
Councilwoman Leader.
No.
Okay, resolution, twenty 12 4 is approved. Moving on then to the utility manager report. Ken did give me a little report, but here's a picture of him.
Can you give us a report on how he's doing?
He's doing relatively well. He's got to wear this brace for maybe 4 months. He was involved in a search and rescue, looking for somebody down towards White Mountain and flipped 26 miles out of town. And so he did something to his L and his, I don't know, a couple of different discs in his back. And he doesn't have to have surgery. But he's going to be wearing that brace for 3 to 4 months. Yes, extremely. So he did give me a little report, and I'm not sure what I did with it, but essentially it was operations normal and just a little bit on winter-related projects. One thing I do remember was that there was a leak that has been a water leak that developed on the east end of town, and the crew is working to address that. I'm sorry I lost the written part, but essentially, as I said, there's nothing out of the ordinary, and he also addressed the fact that there had been a power outage partially a week or two ago when we had the high winds and icing conditions, so it did knock out the feeders out towards belts, and the crew had to get out there and use some kind of a tool there to clear the ice out of the line. So those were the two issues: a water leak and a little outage. Move on to city manager's report. Sure. Ms. Baker.
Good evening, everyone.
Good
Thanks
evening.
for turning me off. Thank you, Glenn, for letting me do that. As those of you have my report in front of you, of course, if there's any specific questions, I can answer them, but what I will do is point out, good news with the Arctic Heat Deck Accord. We're seeing some progress and movement in Congress with the water bill passing the House, the Water Resources and Development Act with an authorization on the project, and we're waiting for that action, same action to be in the Senate. They're going to have to reconcile. I guess there's a couple of things in the House bill that the Senate doesn't want to pass, but they're working it out, and they anticipate to pass it before they break for the holidays. They passed the National Defense Authorization Bill that also has language in it about an Arctic port and an Arctic strategic port. So we're lucky to see that there's science and things moving forward, although I wouldn't say that it's on the downhill yet. The concrete launch ramp replacement project, as you can see in the report, all of our bids came back exceeding the available funds. We rejected those bids, and we have an alternative plan put together between the engineers and the EDA to change the scope of it to remove the costly and the difficult permitting aspect of the project, which is a coffer dam, and then submit for some additional funding with EDA to hopefully meet somewhere in the middle. We should be able to put this project back out for EDA is only going to require for 2 weeks here in January sometime, and hopefully get filled back in so we can award this project and still hit the construction window in the 21 feet about the intersection exchange up where, the port and the convoy meets the shore. That's going to work, but, and it looks like they are going to try to release the project out to bid. They want to release it by May, but they don't have any guarantee contractors may be able to do the work next summer. It's just going to depend on who gets the work and whether the contractor is already the one in town doing the 21 work and whether he can start the project. Otherwise, it'll be in 22. That's it. What's anybody has questions?
John left the room. That's why I got really, really quiet all of a sudden, Joy.
All right, Joy, thank you very much. I know the Port Commission meeting is not happening this Thursday, so, but it is good news. It is good news that, the port is moving forward.
Yes, we are pretty ecstatic about that. And there's still more news to come. We will bring it to the table as we receive it. So have a good night.
Good night.
Thank you, Joy.
Yeah.
Obviously, we will be having phase 6 out, this week. We will probably be, following the same guidelines, because we want to try to get the money into, employees and the restaurants and such as we are, I will tell you, we are having somewhat of a fit with phase 4 on how people submitted applications. Just, it didn't seem to be any rhyme or reason. Some people submitted exactly what they needed to do. We've been able to process them. Some it's been more of a challenge. And I've asked Marguerite to be their advocate and to work with them so we can get the second round, another round of payments out this week. We actually have, we were looking at it today, we think we have over 700 requests that have come in through phase 5. Over 15% of them have mistakes, didn't sign signature pages, and we're reaching out to those folks. We will not issue anybody who has not signed a document that says, I agree, this is why I'm making this application, or where there are no social security numbers. We had a number of those. We had, just so you know, we had about 9 applications that missed the deadline. And we are holding firm unless the council wants to change on the deadline of December 7th, because over 700 people did get their applications in. I can tell you a lot of acknowledgement has to go to Nikki, Peter, Anna, Marguerite, Dana, who's helped, Cheryl, who has helped try to process all these. We're hoping to have almost everything paid out, a check going out by next week. We hope to have a substantial number of checks out this weekend, so that people should have the check before the Christmas holiday, Christmas itself. It was quite unexpected. It was been a challenge. Because remember, each child gets his or her check for $100. Working with phase 4, I feel like a tax accountant where a business comes in and says, here, you figure it out.
So they're writing the checks to the children?
Yeah, we are writing just like a PFD check. The check goes to the child. So we've had a few cases where we.
Seems like a lot of work. I think I would have just been like a family. That I was white. I mean,
Well, we're following the PFD that was.
from the city. I got you. Family check.
I amended emergency order for declaration number 10 and replaced it with number 11. It's essentially extended till December 21st. Guy guidelines that we can run into bars and restaurants, bars, restaurants and public gatherings, cab companies, to hopefully see if the numbers will start trailing down again. I do support, hospital, and I've had this discussion, that trying to get businesses reopened. And I'm fully sympathetic.
I just was gonna say on number 4A, you have too many knots in that. You have no person licensed as a chauffeur and no licensed taxi cab, bus, or vehicle for hire may not allow more than one person inside the taxi cab. I think that last, you have too many negatives in there. I think you should take out the not part up in your second sentence. No person licensed as a chauffeur and no licensed taxi cab, bus, or vehicle for hire may allow more than one person. So we're gonna have a double negative in there. That's okay, I just saw that. Yeah, and number 3, and number 5, same conversation we had earlier, just like, just us to consider allowing people to open.
For everybody.
Can I suggest instead of a number, let them do it to their capacity and as long as they can keep the 6-foot social distancing requirement? Because I think if you do 50% of their capacity in some places, they're gonna maybe have more or less people allowed in their facility. Does that make sense? I don't think Barrington's letting anybody in that place anyway, the way they got it all blocked off. I don't think they're planning on having anybody sitting in there anytime soon because they've got it all blocked off. But I'm thinking of other places that have a little more space, they can fit more than 10 people in it, allow that for more than 10 people, like,
That's what we would have to do.
well, you say 10, so that's why I'm saying,
Well, we would
maybe
have
think outside of that 10 block.
And I not disagree, that number is gonna have to, when we do with the restaurants, and have other numbers. The issue is that, let's say for Friars, that I go in there and eat on a regular basis, he's only allowing 22 people. That's, even though right before what happened, he could have been opened up at 100% capacity. We're gonna have to find the right number or what the right figures that work for the different businesses. I agree with you. 50% for one person may be a lot different than 50% for another. As guaranteed, but the manager there, who I work with, the owner who I work with, she would continue to do her outside service if she wanted to have her customers free while they're waiting for the call. So they would work with her through the stage 4 run.
That is a valid point, though. I mean, just in that same locale, there's a business with 3 tables, and you know, they probably could operate with 2 of their 3 safely, or to maintain the distancing. But I think 50% would be a hard number.
Regarding this, this came out late Friday at 2 noon.
Yes, sir.
Were businesses aware of this?
We just put out through social media, we just put out, it was sent out to all these organizations. And, I just don't remember if Dave ran around to everybody with it. Because frankly, they were closed through today. I under the original order, they were closed for the business.
Midnight on the 13th.
That was your, that was the ordinance. The
Okay.
declaration was the ordinance.
Oh, so that's confusing. So I guess my recommendation in the future, as I stated earlier, is to work with these businesses and restaurants. And like I know that they've done it in the past, I know that Dave did a good job of going around, especially the first couple go around, because I heard from other people, so yeah, Dave came in, we talked to him. He was really helpful with that, and I think that's the same thing here. You know, especially if it's a last minute change. But I know a few people had signs on their doors, will open up on the 14th. Some people didn't know about it, and the police officer went in there and made them aware of it. I don't think that that's the proper way to, for them to become aware of it. So,
We sent out a police officer for the breakers. We sent out a police officer because I got email or text, I don't remember what it was, text, that was the breakers was opening up at midnight, last night at midnight. So what we sent, I asked the police officer, I asked the chief to send the police officer, they say, yes, you may open, but because you're a public space, you're limited to 10 people.
so that we don't want to debate how things came out, but that's what I'm saying is that in the future, in the future, it sounds like your designation, maybe make number 12, is to make sure that we as a city communicate well with the people that affect the most from the owners of the business.
We did try to get this out early, so we weren't on it the last minute, that's why we tried without the public meeting, but yes, we probably could have had Dave go around and follow up.
Not everybody follows social media.
I guess we timed the ending of the thing to coincide with the next council meeting.
I think that was the intention.
Right, but
Probably should have made it one
one
more
day further.
Right.
Just
No, I know the
because
intention,
that
but
was a
that's
smart
not the way
man
how
opening
it's
up at
Right.
midnight
done.
last night, just saying.
People are in a
He's like, I got a
timeline.
window of opportunity.
Right. Yeah.
He took advantage of the window of opportunity he thought he had because he didn't see this.
Right.
Yes.
Well, I think number 12 and looking down the road to, you know, I mean, if people can just do what they're supposed to do what you're supposed to do, and we don't have to be doing this, I guess.
Well, I think the majority of communities try to benefit from our own visiting amongst other people outside of our bubble, and not necessarily in the businesses. That's people doing what they're supposed to do and not knowing what they're supposed to do, but it's difficult not to socialize. Whether you're in your house or have a small group of friends that come over that are outside your bubble, or your family member gets ill and so you affect other people in your family. That's where this virus works. It's not putting blame on everybody, but
Yep.
that's the way it is.
On the phone, any comments or questions to Glenn on the existing emergency order or comments on the future one? Yep, go ahead. Yeah, Councilmember Popcott is trying to get in there.
Take your mute off.
Yep. Great, thank you. Councilmember Doug Johnson or Martinson on the other end? No, I'm good with it.
Yeah, I have nothing else.
All right.
You're not done yet.
All right, I guess, any questions of the city manager on other items?
Sorry, I know we're getting late, but, so you gave us the breakdown of where we're at right now with the, CARES Act funds. And according to this, the, rec center ventilation is still on here. It looks like they've adjusted to 155. And are we still under the interpretation that we've got to spend this money by the end of the year?
We are, taking the, well, we are taking the approach the money may go away. We do have a look back period, into 2021 where we can potentially find places where the money could be spent. But we're also starting to hear that, there is being consideration given to allow the original 2.3 million, trillion dollars, because the number of entities cannot spend the money, that it'll be extended into 2021.
Doug, you're not muted.
Um, you know, we still have 2 weeks. We still have applications that we're processing, and we're gonna have this next phase of applications coming in. I seriously expect that there's gonna be less, definitely less than $100,000. We'll probably be able to reassign that money so none of it gets back to the federal government. I know that's, and I think it's also important to look at that you have invested, it's gonna be close to $1.8 million into the community. There's that funding. Well, plus what they've been able to get through the state CARES Act fund, through the PPP fund. Not that it's, the CARES, this virus has affected everybody different. Some businesses are doing quite well. Some businesses aren't.
According to this, it says that, what's expected to go out to the businesses, was 1.2 million. And that might increase a little bit after tonight, and on your estimation maybe. And what went to the community so far is a little over 1 million, but for 2.2 million.
Well, there's some estimates in there that we put in there. You have given businesses and individual utility credit, which I believe was over $300,000. I just don't have the numbers in front of me, and whether it's phase, we estimate now that we're looking at with phase 5, it is probably going to be well over $600,000. We still have some applications we're working on that go back to phase 2, trying to get people to get the right paperwork in so we can approve it. The finance staff is doing everything, in my opinion, that they can do. Today, we were processing about 150 applications that did not have signatures. Telephone numbers that they listed on their forms that don't exist. Now, I know you were very good at pointing that out.
That would have been fun.
Okay, did you get your answer, or did you?
But I think just I guess reiterate, we don't really want to spend as much money in town as what we can, and just give it as much as what we can, and make sure that we don't leave any on the table, and we don't want to have the city absorb extra funds that we can get up to the community. Oh, one more thing, I did have a question, rec center being open. People are concerned about.
The rec center, the weight room is being open to up to 10 people. And then we will, we'll just be disinfectant on a regular basis. The question is, can we open up the gym to 10 people at a time? We're gonna look at that. I've got conversation with Jeff, who emailed me today. I've been tied up in all sorts of things today. I've done interviews for police officers, the two chiefs, and so, we're trying to open up. The one thing is we can take appointments for weight room. It's a little bit different for the other facilities. The question is, when are we going to open up bowling alleys? Well, we have to make sure that we're applying the rules and regulations the same way we're applying them. And as I said, we're going to have to close down City Hall to do a disinfection. This area is not a problem. It hasn't been used for a week or two, but we've had some issues of exposure. So we couldn't do a thorough disinfection on the apartments. But I don't want to leave a dollar on the table on this.
Check your list, Mike. Okay.
Mhm.
All right, anybody else out there? Questions for Glenn? All right, if not, we'll move on to citizens' comments. Next round, anybody? We're down to a few people on Zoom. Thank you all for sticking with us for several hours here. And if any of you would like to comment, we welcome you. I think your finding phone works better. 443-6605. Anybody out there in GCI land?
Any views land? What is streaming?
All right, Megan, Danny, Daniela, Drake, Tiffany, Barb, Arnie, Mary C. Gold, Mary Rude, I think she is, or maybe Marty.
Can you hear me on Zoom, or do I have to call in?
No, we actually can hear you, Megan. You have the floor.
Okay, I turned off my machine, so hoping you can hear me. So I saw, I know Dr. Peterson had wanted to be on and was not able to be. Brief update from the hospital side, we did see an improvement in cases after the last big surge, which definitely was connected to some bars. We're seeing our current sweep surge, a lot of what's going on across the country really related to Thanksgiving and people gathering outside their bubbles. So encouraging everybody to stay in your bubbles, reassured what's happening there. Vaccine is coming, maybe as soon as Wednesday. We could be vaccinating the first people in milk. But that we do have to follow the national and state standards on who gets vaccinated there. They reinforced us today that we can't deviate from that. We have to wait until the state tells us to move on to the next but cases are definitely rising statewide, nationwide. So that you're ready.
Thank you, Megan, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Right, anybody else out there? Okay, if not,
Nope.
go ahead.
Out there or?
Yeah.
Sorry, just was unsure when the appropriate time.
Oh, yeah, I thought we, used, that you waved by, but go ahead.
Thank you. So just one small problem. COVID-19 can be discovered primarily Colorado. Okay, so I agree with that. The state made it up mandate. It's not much of a mandate. It's guidance. It doesn't require that. Measures that by operation. Simply a suggestion. So as a result, you can only take the two here. But if they have a positive result from one patient in 72 hours, they can hospital. So in order to incentivize them, but they don't have to take on the report because it's just the right people. Because they know they're going to take something. So they could end up here, and once they're here and they test positive, they're here, they don't get to go back on the airplane until after they're negative. Okay, so we just import one factor. So if we allow them to do their first test, if that first test in nature is with a challenge, then we would have more people doing that. And then hopefully there would be more people, if more people do that, then we would catch them there and they would stay in Anchorage and not permanent. But if we're going to require them to take them when they arrive no matter what, then they no longer have the incentive to take more Anchorage than they can. So, my thought was whether to let the one in count, because we have to take one here. Maybe we would have more people testing there. If they're positive, then they would have to get up here. Of course, maybe you're not going to take because they know if they do, they get a test positive, and they make it on the airplane and then they're ready. So, it's a little bit different.
When you come up with the answer, let us know. Thank you. Okay, anybody else out there? One last time. All right, great. Well, thank you, everybody. Now we're down to council member comments. Sure, however. All right, we'll start in the room. Council member Reader.
I recently traveled and got to see firsthand the COVID testing, and I was grateful that I sat in front of the airplane because I got to go into the tent immediately, but I felt really bad for the people that weren't in the front because when I walked outside, they were standing outside. Has that been addressed? Do we have any solutions? Because it's wintertime now. That's just not cool. Well, it is cool, and that's the problem, but they need to figure out why the people aren't going to stand outside and wait for a COVID test.
Well, there are supposed to be, when I've worked at camp, I work usually every weekend and once or twice during the week. You know, we hustle the people into the tent. Some people will say, well, it's too tight a gathering. You know, I understand that.
Well, that tent doesn't hold very many people,
Well,
even 6 feet apart, so.
Well, there are two tents.
Mm-hmm. But the one tent, they only let the medical personnel in, and the other tent, they only let the passengers in. unless you're being seen by one of the medical personnel.
Well, the way it's supposed to work is you come in, they are supposed to get you into the second tent as quickly as possible. I'm not saying it happens. I'm just telling you how it's supposed to work. So they're giving out these little tags about this big of who, what your name is and what's your birthday. Because I just went through it myself. Of course, I only flew up with 28 people, and I was bang right through without even stopping. Flew in the front of the plane, so that also helps us a little. But you know, we get it. We try to get them all in, and we've had people that we've gotten people with 40 plus passengers up into the two tents. I don't know why they were standing outside. At least, and I will talk with them tomorrow, because I'll be out of the tent tomorrow to make sure that's not happening. You know, yes, it's getting cold. Yes, the children get off the plane last typically. You don't want the children standing out in freezing weather. And we'll see what we can do. But I just know that typically, the times I've been there, we get them into the tent as quickly as possible.
That's just what I observed myself, so that's the reason I brought it up, because it's going to be a problem. People, if it's inconvenient, people are just going to be like not going to be as cooperative as they would be if it was nice outside.
When people come in through the doors, we ask them, are you doing a 14-day quarantine? If you are, please come see us at the line, and have you signed your form and
I saw that. That was good.
We asked them, do you have your approved form filled out through that? And we give them that. And then we ask them, did you not fill out a form? And then we say, we get them inside the tent and put them off to the side. It's usually about a half a dozen people. And they sign their form there. The hospital has been good. When I was there, they had only one person, but sometimes they have two people working the gate where we were getting on the plane and making sure that people fill out the application and understand it. You have some people, which I looked at, they couldn't even be bothered with the representative from Norton Sound and said, I'll deal with the paperwork when I get to know you. And that sometimes creates some of the problem. But we do make every effort to get them in. We understand how cold it is. You know, and how important it is to get them in there as fast as possible. We would love, I'm reaching out to Alaska Air, that when we have particular large groups of people coming, can we store them in that hallway area? Close the doors until we can move them through. So that's being discussed. But everything is being tried to get people through the census as quickly as possible.
I saw it and I thought we had talked about this numerous times, and I thought it was being rectified, and it obviously isn't. So I was just, we're trying to make this as productive as possible, and I just feel that having people stand outside is counterproductive to our goal.
Well, I don't know who was working that day or what the problem was.
And I didn't pay enough attention to tell you who it was, so I just saw it. That's what I saw, and I kind of shook my head and was like, okay, we'll just have a conversation again, I guess. And I just wanted to say thank you to all of our city personnel who've been working hard to keep us afloat during this crazy time. And thank you guys for doing the lights again. I know the fire department, and I haven't seen the ones that stay on the side of the poles. Are those not going up this year?
Those are fire department.
Oh, those are the fire departments too?
Will talk to
I
you
was saying,
about that.
my girls were looking for them, so I said, I'll ask. Anyway, they like seeing those too.
Okay.
And it's just been really nice to see people putting up their lights in their windows and on their houses and stuff. It really makes you smile when you're driving down the road, and especially since it's a wreck, we get to see them all the time, which I really appreciate. And I saw a lot of people asking for it, so I'm glad that people have stepped up and really done their part to make our city look a little brighter. And I would also like to move to allocate $3,000 for a community fireworks display to have on or about New Year's.
Thank you, but it's covered. Yeah, NSCDC and, through the Lions, ensured that it's all official.
Okay, thank you. Thank you to NCDC and the Lions Club then for generously sponsoring that. Hopefully we can actually have it.
Yeah, and, being you brought that up, I'll just piggyback on that.
Sure.
Rather than do it at midnight Nome time, we're gonna do it at midnight, New York City time, so that, it's a little bit earlier.
For all the old people that go to bed early.
Exactly,
Yeah.
like you and I. So 8 o'clock on New Year's Eve is the plan, and we'll hope that the weather cooperates.
Operates, yes, thank you. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember.
Real quick regarding that Alaska Airlines issue that we talked about in the past, it still seems like that hallway is still the most easily viable thing that they can get them to do that. And while I talked about earlier, just thanks to city staff for implementing this extra work beyond the normal city services that you can check out, and this would be a big help for the community, and thank you for getting those out right away.
Thank you. Councilmember Martinson.
Okay, now, people, or as usual, awesome to see the light contest going up again. I'm sure Eric Lee will win it, but still, cool to have everybody else put lights up too. And, yeah, it's good for the city staff and police department, everybody who's working hard. And that's all I have.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Topcock. Yes. Great, thank you. We asked Student Representative Okwesik if you had any comments tonight. I know there's not a whole lot of opportunity for you in a meeting here to be jumping in necessarily, but we'd welcome any comments that you have to make.
I have no comments.
Great, well, we really appreciate you hanging in there with it. This it is we hope not the normal length of our meetings. Thank you again. So, Councilmember Doug Johnson.
No, I think it's better.
Thank you, Doug. Councilmember Brown.
I've got nothing to add.
Okay, thank you. I didn't miss anybody, right? Okay. All right, moving on into mayor's report. Real quickly, a couple of items. Had some good discussions with Tim Gilbert, the CEO of Mandela here recently. Chief West and I were on there talking a little bit about how ambulance service works in Nome, how it works in Kotzebue, and trying to get some ideas on how we might be able to make things work a little bit better in our community. We have two different systems. Kotzebue has all paid people. Nome has all volunteers, and still when the tone drops for a baby not breathing, there will be 20 people there. But when somebody has fallen off the stool, we have a hard time getting folks. So thank you to Tim Gilbert. That was a good time. I did write a letter of support to go in with an NSCDC community application that the Community United Methodist Church women put in here. They're looking for funding to rebuild their thrift shop building, and hopefully they get that some support from NSCDC, and I'm going to work with them to see if USDA community facilities might be another opportunity. They've done a great job for 30, 40 years, and I know that building is old and cold because 55 years ago it was my first grade classroom. So I hate to see it get torn down, but it has served its purpose. We want to welcome Glenn back and formally pass our condolences on the passing of his father-in-law, and glad that that if it did happen, that it was at a time that you actually were there, and never an easy thing to deal with. Also want to congratulate Emily and Aaron on their recent ring that she got there, and this is a good way to end the 2020 that's been hell for a lot of us along the way. Also, it is not without trying. I've really been looking to try to find somebody that met the demographics of the community to try to get on the Public Safety Commission. But I've had 5 people turn me down. Most people, see it as just too big of a time commitment that they can make at this time in their lives. So I think that I considered the demographics of the community, and I'm going to ask that the clerk actually put an ad in the newspaper again, asking anybody that is interested, because we are working with the attorney to get training scheduled after the first of the year, and I don't like the fact that that's situated. So, any.
Can I suggest something too? I think 9 commissioners is a large amount of people to seat, and I'm just curious if a smaller commission would be just as effective and still meet the purposes of our community. That's a lot of people. 9 is a lot. We don't have any other commission in our entire city that has that many people in it, so I would like to reconsider how many people we have on the commission, just so we can stay within the parameters that we outlined.
Okay. Well, let me talk to the commissioners that we do have right now and see what their thoughts are on that. But it is a rather large board, and we did want to get a wide cross section, but with so many, often it's difficult to try to get a time when everybody can meet. And I think that is the extent of it. Our next meeting is the 28th. Christmas is on Friday the 25th. I assume.
Practice are gonna get to us right away, right? It's like.
Well, normally at this time of the year we would cancel the next meeting, but I think we need to leave it on the table at least for present, just to see what may be happening, if we have any new and quick allocations that we have to do on any of this care stuff, and then if there needs to be any discussion on emergency orders and those changes. I appreciate Mr. Hall's suggestion that it shouldn't be a long time to discuss things, but things. We certainly can have a meeting every week or have a special meeting if there's something that develops in the process.
So is our suggestion to keep the 28th or to
Let's leave it on the calendar for right now.
the possibility of not having the
Yeah.
Ish, okay.
All right, not aware of anything else, and if nobody else is, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.